In the golden age of action cinema, there was a man who moved like a shadow, struck like lightning, and left opponents questioning reality itself. Steven Seagal wasn't just another martial arts star. He was an anomaly. In a world of choreographed punches and fake bruises, his movements were real, his strikes devastating, his aura dangerous. He carried with him the quiet confidence of a man who didn't need to prove he could end a fight in seconds. The Hollywood lights adored him, but behind the screen was a dojo, a battlefield where he sharpened his craft with relentless discipline. Inside that fortress of discipline, the air was always thick with the smell of sweat, leather, and the faint metallic tang of blood from busted lips. Seagal believed martial arts wasn't sport, it was survival. He drilled students until their legs shook, their breath burned, and their minds screamed to quit. Those who stayed learned more than technique. They learned how to project power without wasting movement, how to dominate without noise, how to stare through a man until he broke. Into this world, Arissa LeBrock was born. The daughter of a Hollywood icon and Aikido master, she didn't enter life with lullabies. She entered it with the sound of wooden swords clashing, the echo of bodies hitting tatami mats, and the cold stare of a father who measured worth not in words, but in resilience. Before she could form sentences, she was absorbing a code. Before she could tie her shoes, she was learning balance, breathing, and the weight of her own center. Her childhood wasn't normal. While other kids spent Saturdays with cartoons, Arissa spent them in the dojo, watching her father dismantle grown men with the efficiency of a machine. His hands moved too fast for her young eyes to follow. One moment a man stood tall, the next he was on the ground, gasping for breath, clutching a wrist twisted beyond its natural range. There was no gloating, no yelling, just the same calm expression as if Seagal had merely shifted furniture. By the time Arissa was 10, her kicks were crisp, her strikes sharp, her falls controlled. But Steven Seagal was no gentle coach. He corrected her like he corrected everyone, brutally. If her stance faltered, he swept her leg. If her guard dropped, he struck. His belief was simple. A martial artist forged in comfort would crumble in chaos, and life, as he saw it, was chaos waiting to happen. But growing up under that shadow had a cost. Wherever she went, whispers followed. That's Steven Seagal's daughter. At first it was pride. Later it became a chain. Every compliment felt like it belonged to him, not her. Every victory in sparring was met with, well, she's Seagal's kid. Of course she's good. Arissa started to wonder if she'd ever be seen for who she was. Not just the bloodline she carried. She tried escaping it. She joined activities that had nothing to do with martial arts, explored fashion, modeling, even acting. But no matter how far she strayed, the dojo called her back. It wasn't her father forcing her anymore. It was something in her bones. The sound of feet hitting mats, the sharp snap of a well-executed throw. It was in her DNA. And Seagal knew it. He didn't tell her. He didn't need to. His eyes, those same cold, unblinking eyes that had unsettled opponents for decades, held the unspoken truth. One day, the spirit will take you over, and when it does, you'll stop running. The moment came in the most unexpected way. Arissa was 19 when she entered a regional martial arts tournament. It wasn't a major event. In fact, she wasn't even planning to compete. She went to support a friend. But when one of the competitors failed to show, a slot opened. The organizers knew who she was. They pushed her to step in. She refused at first. Too many eyes. Too many expectations. But then she saw the smirk on one of the fighters, a tall, arrogant man who joked loudly about Seagal's princess not daring to get in the ring. It wasn't just mockery. It was a challenge. Minutes later, she was on the mat. The crowd buzzed, not because of her, but because of who her father was. Phones were out, ready to catch either her humiliation or her dominance. Her opponent bowed, but his eyes stayed mocking. She bowed back, her mind a storm. The match began. The man came in fast, sloppy, overconfident. She sidestepped, countered with a palm strike, felt the thud of contact against his chest. He laughed it off. The second attack came harder. This time she blocked, pivoted, and executed a throw her father had drilled into her since childhood. The man hit the mat with a crack that silenced the room. He staggered up, red-faced and furious. He charged again, throwing wild punches. Something inside her shifted. It was as if her father's teachings, all the hours of brutal training, all the corrections and sweeps and strikes, clicked into place at once. Her breathing slowed. The noise of the crowd faded. She could see every opening before it happened. She didn't just defend. She dismantled him. A wrist lock sent him to his knees. A sweeping kick flattened him. And then, without thinking, she delivered a lightning-fast joint strike that froze him in agony. The referee jumped in. Match over. The crowd erupted, but not all in cheers. Some were shocked. Some whispered about excessive force. Clips hit social media within hours. The captions split between admiration and outrage. She's a beast, too violent, just like her dad. That night, Arissa sat alone, replaying it in her head. The precision, the coldness. It was pure Seagal. But it wasn't imitation. It was instinct. For the first time, she felt the rush her father must have felt. The complete control of a fight. The knowledge that in that moment no one could touch you. It scared her. It thrilled her. And it changed her forever. The next few years would define her. She could have walked away again, retreated into anonymity. Instead, she embraced it, but on her own terms. Arissa began training with a mix of old-school Aikido and modern combat sports. She studied MMA techniques, striking disciplines, and self-defense methods for real-world scenarios. She didn't just want to be Steven Seagal's daughter. She wanted to be Arissa LeBrock, someone who could honor the legacy but stand independent of it. Her approach was different from her father's. While Seagal carried an almost mythical stoicism, Arissa blended that precision with raw athletic power. She taught workshops for women, focusing on practical defense against real threats. She competed in controlled environments, but always with the understanding that martial arts was about survival, not spectacle. Media coverage began to shift. The headlines moved from "Seagal's daughter wins again" to "Arissa LeBrock dominates with ruthless efficiency." Interviews revealed a woman deeply respectful of her father's influence, but unafraid to critique outdated methods. She spoke about discipline, mental strength, and the balance between tradition and evolution. And yet, when she stepped onto a mat, there was no mistaking the bloodline. Her movements carried that same terrifying economy. No wasted motion, no hesitation. Opponents described the unnerving way she'd look right through them, predicting their next move before they made it. It was the same stare that had made Steven Seagal an enigma. Today, Arissa LeBrock stands as a living embodiment of the fighting spirit, not just her father's, but her own. She carries the Seagal name with pride, but the path she walks is hers alone. And still, there are moments that remind the world of the connection. In a recent exhibition match, she faced an opponent who outweighed her by 50 pounds. The bout lasted less than 10 seconds. A feint, a sweep, a strike, and he was on the floor, clutching his wrist, unable to continue. The room fell silent. For a heartbeat, it was 1990 again, and Steven Seagal was ending a fight before it had begun. She helped the man up, bowed, and walked away without a word, just like her father would have. The legacy lives on, not as a shadow, but as a flame, burning in a fighter who carries both the past and the future in every movement.